Hello YouTube, my name is Legend of DS and welcome back to E3 week and to the penultimate episode of E3 week. Last episode we talked about the 10 games I want to see coming to the Nintendo Switch, and this episode we're going to be talking about the 10 remakes I want to see coming to the Switch. So here's the difference between ports and remakes. For example, remakes or ports included some 3DS games that came out later in the life cycle of the Switch, of the 3DS. This one is going to include games that are from maybe an earlier time period than those. And something that I would like to see being done are games that were from either post 2015 or pre 2015 for the 3DS, Wii U, Wii games, GameCube games, maybe I was gonna say PlayStation games, but no, games from those time periods like Game Boy Advance and all that stuff. So anyway, let's get on to it. Actually, before we get on to it, a little reminder that right now we're like, 218 subscribers, and at 250 will be another giveaway. I haven't still decided exactly what will be, but anyway, let's get on to the video. So at number 10 we have Kid Icarus Uprising. I think this is one of the games that needs the most a remake. Remake in the terms of first it would need obviously to be, the graphics would all need to be done or retooled, but also because finally we'd be getting the redone controls. One of the big things that kept people away from Kid Icarus Uprising is the control mechanisms for the game. So a full redone controls would be good for this game. Obviously then adding maybe some post-game content or some more content. I don't exactly know how much post-game content the game has, the original, and it will be interesting to see. Sakurai is still working on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, so I don't see why a port for Kid Icarus Uprising couldn't be done on the Nintendo Switch even without Sakurai. Then at number 9 we have the most likely remake to happen from this list, and it's The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD. We know this is bound to happen eventually, sooner or later it will happen. Nintendo will do it. Every 3D Zelda has been remade outside of this one. I just think we need to wait and see. I think this is a game that might not be able to be played docked, or not docked, in handheld mode, and since the rumor mill says that we're going to be getting a Switch Mini first, or Switch Lite before the Switch Pro, the Switch revisions, so I wouldn't be shocked if this was the game that came out next year. Then at number 8, a game that I would like to see being done, just because, both 8 and 7 actually, just because I want to see and want to make the fan base put their money where their mouth is. So it will be Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door. Now Nintendo is not doing Paper Mario the way the fans want. Fans want it to be a more RPG series, and the franchise has deviated a little bit more from that, becoming more of an action adventure with color splash. So the reason I say put the money where their mouth is because Color Splash, we really can't speak on sales data because, well, the game was on Wii U and it was on the later days of the Wii U. But when we reach the two games that start to go across the Paper Mario genres in Super Paper Mario and Paper Mario Sticker Star, both of them sold better than The Thousand Year Door and Paper Mario 64. That's why I say put your money where your mouth is. If the fan base is big enough, or it actually is a big fan base and not just a loud minority on the internet, then Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door could do tremendous sales. Heck, it's the Switch. A lot of games are seeing new life on the Switch, have been doing tremendously well. So I would like to see, just to see to prove, either for the fans to prove to Nintendo that they are big enough and that Paper Mario should be an RPG series, or if Nintendo is right all along and they could and will move on from the Paper Mario RPG series and just let Mario and Luigi be the RPG series and do something different with Paper Mario. Then at number 7, it's F-Zero GX. F-Zero GX is touted by many of the F-Zero fanbase as the best of the series. So if it is the best of the series, it should have, sold the best. But honestly, it didn't. F-Zero went on a deep dive after the first game. The first game did 2.1 million, and then all the other games put together just barely outsell it. And that's F-Zero GX, F-Zero X, F-Zero Maximum Legend, and F-Zero GP. So yes, Maximum Legend and GP might have not been or Maximum GP, I forget what it is, weren't the greatest games, but at the same time, all of them put together, all those 4 games barely outsell the first one. Think about that one for a second. And people keep saying Nintendo should make more of the franchise. So that's what I'm saying. Port the game over to the Switch. Port this one, make an HD port. It's not going to be as expensive as making a new one, or even giving it to an indie, maybe. And let's see. Are the fans right for all these years of bitching about the game should be done, and then the game comes out and nobody cares, or like it happened on the GameCube? So we just have to wait and see. They haven't done it yet, so let's see. It could happen. It will be interesting, even if just to see what the game would sell, and maybe once and for all prove who was right, fans or Nintendo. Although I don't think Nintendo would do it just to prove the fans wrong. They would probably just do it because they believe in it. But anyway, moving on, we have number 6, Golden Sun, and this one is a franchise I think could be done by an indie company, or just a port on remakes of the original trilogy. I think it was a trilogy on the Switch. Once again, maybe to revitalize the franchise, see if they're still interested in interest for the next series. And I think that the Switch is a perfect system to do it, and I think that Nintendo should start looking into expanding once again their IP portfolio. There's not really much I can say here. I just would like to see it happen. Yeah, moving on. And number 5, we have all the 3D Marios, not 3D World. 3D World I don't think would have a lot of... doesn't need a remake, just needs a port basically. But Super Mario 64 needs to be completely redone. Same thing with the Galaxies 1 and 2. Mostly like how you would work with the dual analogs and how would you collect star bits, for example. And then Super Mario Sunshine absolutely needs a remake. I still don't think it's a Mario game. I think it's a game that they just put Mario and painted all over it, funnily enough, given the theme of the game, because it's not a Mario game. It's funny to me when people complain about Odyssey and 3D World kind of straying away from what the core 3D Mario experience. Not so much Odyssey being much more of the collecting and not taking you back to the beginning of the level. But 3D Worlds being more 2.5D, as some people would put it. And then Lord, a game that's clearly not a Mario game, and it should have been something new, but whatever. But the game needs a remake because of like the physics of that game are completely out of whack. They are not correct. They don't work the way they should, honestly. And I think a remake would be the best for that game. The other two need, like obviously 64 would need a bigger graphics increase. Maybe just bring 64 DS to the Switch and add maybe something to it outside of the graphics and the controls. Then for number 4 we have Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Take the 3D games and make them HD. This could have been in the port section of the last video, but I decided to put it here because it makes more sense. Ocarina probably could do with the free-flowing camera that Majora's Mask had, so that's kind of an adage to it. And maybe like some tweaks to the remakes could also be done. I don't really have much to say. I just would like to see these two games here. Then at number 3, since Nintendo's not doing a new one, Eternal Darkness. It's a game that would be interesting, and I would say it needs a remake more than a port, not just because of the upscaling graphics, but also because of like what they can do now with having the game mess with your TV, which would be interesting. A lot of the things from older TVs probably wouldn't work nowadays, so it would be interesting to see how they could manage to make the game work in a new environment for not only on the system. Like they could even have like the Switch, like the controller disconnecting or something for the game, or it will be interesting to see. And yeah, for number 2 I put the Fire Emblem Radiant Saga, you know, the games on the GameCube and I believe the Wii, Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn. No, that's not the name of the game. But the Radiance, like the games with Ike in HD, like not just in HD, but obviously because like the game is very rare to find nowadays, and it will be good to put it out there, have us have another way of playing it, even if it's just on the eShop, or, and this is a slash, not just a Radiant Saga, Fire Emblem Awakening, the game that revitalized the F-Zero, the Fire Emblem franchise, brought to the Switch in HD, maybe for 2020, I'm just saying. Not just in HD, but like also things that clear, like the game, since it was the game that needed to save the franchise. I think there's some compromises that were made, not just by the feet, but like you can tell like support conversations, for example, for some characters are shockingly low. Some things in the characters supports, again, not only is it shockingly low, but like weird, you know, like there's the multitude of combinations you can do with characters leaves a lot to be desired in like certain segments. For example, when in the end game there are things that don't make a lot of sense in the sense of the character speaking. You could be married to someone and their line will be the same as you were not married to them. You could be the father of a character and their line is exactly the same as if you were her husband or his wife. So it'll be interesting to see them change around that and like there's the chapter 21 scene, which also will be interesting. Like there's only like very few differentiating factors in it, and it will be interesting to see how they would handle not only that, again, characters that, for example, are in love with somebody. Sumia and Cordelia are no matter what, in love with Chrom. But, for example, if you marry Cordelia off with somebody else and then she has a dialogue with Frederick, she'll still mention the fact that she's in love with Chrom, which doesn't really make sense. I think the game could and should adapt to these situations better, and I think like a proper remake could give us that. And number one, what can I say? It had to be Xenoblade Chronicles, the original Xenoblade Chronicles. With the popularity of the franchise at an all-time high and the fact that this game suffered a lot from bad decisions from mostly the American branch of Nintendo, and maybe with better marketing this time, and also because even in Europe it came at the tailgate end of the Wii's life cycle, the game could have done better. And the game looks great for a Wii game. It obviously doesn't look fantastic for the time period, but it looks good for a Wii game. That's what we need to remember. And the amount of stuff packed into that little game is incredible. And I would absolutely love to see the game completely done, not just in HD, but like maybe even some more side quests added, maybe like some Easter eggs and bonuses for other games, maybe even have something interlocking the game with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which would be interesting to see in my opinion. But I guess that will be it for the remakes video. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I've been the Legend of DS. Join me again tomorrow as we finish up E3 week, or the pre-E3 week I should say, because then it begins the reaction videos and all that, with the Nintendo expansion and how the Switch is the perfect vehicle, let's put it that way, for the Nintendo expansion. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I've been the Legend of DS. See you guys next time.